allocate for that. So earmarks by themselves are not a bad thing. What I think they have become is the path of least resistance. In order to get your vote, I don't have to have a particularly good bill. I just need to add something in it for you. And that's where I think we've kind of gone wrong. The earmarks have exploded, but they still really represent a fairly small part of the budget. And it's part of fixing our budget. But you know, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
With the forecast to run out of adequate funding for Medicare, Medicaid, in what, 7 years or less, what do you think should be done?
Well, you know, the Concord Coalition, I don't know if you have heard of them, they came to town basically doing the Paul Revere ride and talking about how our budget works and that we need to put everything on the table when we start talking about attacking our debt, and Medicare and Medicaid is part of that. You know, and the connectedness of energy, healthcare, and our debt, I mean, it's all one big problem. And what we need to do is, again, as an engineer, I take big problems, I break them down into pieces, and you solve each piece and eventually get your arms wrapped around the big project, whether it's a sewer project or whatever. You know, and that's really what we've got to do. Like, I tell people about healthcare, I don't mind paying a doctor or nurse a living wage. I don't mind paying for an MRI. I mind talking to the 3 people that I have to talk to get the MRI. And those are the kinds of things that we need to do to attack our costs. And we've absolutely got to get Medicare and Medicaid costs under control, you know, because it is. I mean, baby boomers are starting to retire in huge numbers. There's going to be less people in the workforce. Those are very real problems. But I think attacking the waste in the medical system, the non-value added, you know, things that aren't between you and your doctor. They're all you know, the insurance companies' position is to collect premium and not pay a claim. You know, so they want to make sure that they're not faultily paying a claim. So they put these gatekeepers in there, understandably. But we've got to just make sure we have the right amount of that, and I think it's kind of exploded. So I hope that answers your question.
I'd like to get an idea of your knowledge of renewable energy sources in our district.
Yeah, I have a biodiesel plant at my farm myself. It's very important to me. I have solar, hot water out there. I've drank the purple juice, so to speak. People ask me about drilling, alternative energies, and this is my response to that. We need a comprehensive energy policy that not only gets us energy independent, but also energy diverse. And so biofuels are not the answer, solar is not the answer, but all of those things are part of the answer. And they ask me, well, what's your position on drilling? And I say that I am personally not in favor of drilling, but I'll tell you this. If we put an energy package together that was really finally, after 30 years of talking about it, going to move us forward, and drilling was part of that package, I wouldn't be the congressman that got in the way. Because as an engineer, I can tell you the solutions for alternatives are much closer than they appear. You know, in 1961, President Kennedy said, we're going to send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth. We did that in less than 9 years, and we know a heck of a lot more about alternative energy today than we knew about space travel in 1961. And I'll tell you, those solutions are a lot closer than they appear. I was talking to some, you know, of course I'm out raising money. I was talking to some folks trying to raise money, and they're in the energy business. And we talked about that, and they said, you know, what we need to do, we focus sometimes in government on 30 years out. And we do need to focus some of our resources on a lot closer in, 5, 10 years in. And I thought that was kind of an interesting idea from people who are in the business.
I want to make a comment first. A friend of mine worked at NASA during the early space flights, and he said that there is 100,000 times more technology in a cell phone than how they got a man on the moon.
Absolutely.
So just, I mean, what you say is so correct. I mean, they did it basically with gum and Elmer's glue. Right,
and the other important part of that, you know, we're talking about jobs and things here. I mean, we rode a prosperity wave because of that space race in material science in computer technology, in aerospace. We have been riding a prosperity wave because of that space race for 40 years. And we can be the world leader in energy. Right now, Germany produces more solar panels than we do in the United States. And it's a reward system. We have been rewarding oil companies by subsidizing, and our tax incentives for companies like solar panel manufacturers, well, not the manufacturers, but solar panels themselves, they're renewed in short-term, like 2-year increments instead of 15 years. We're going to give you a tax credit for 15 years. And if you're thinking about building a solar panel plant, you got to know that there's kind of some government commitment to helping you put that package together. You're not going to be able to get the financing to build your plant to help us get off of our dependence on oil.
Well, then my question related to that is that I can't believe I'd ever say this, because I am one who I thought going to the moon was a great concept in doing space exploration. I don't feel that way anymore. I know that there's a lot of concentration now looking at going to Mars, and I cannot support that anymore because of what's happening to the Earth. And so how would you, as a congressman, redirect that into this 10-year plan?
That is a very interesting point, because what we have found is there's plenty to explore here. And explore meaning understand, fix, whatever. I mean, I think, people ask me about global warming, I don't know. I think it's presumptuous of us to think that we truly understand how complicated our ecosystem is. So I'm not going to say, it's science and the world's going to end, or whatever. But I will say that pulling oil out of the ground by the billions of gallons and burning it is not helping. It's not helping our environment. And I'm not sure that, when we're talking about focusing a little inward, you do that in your family, you do that in your community, in your business. When things aren't going so good, you do kind of turn inward. Maybe now's not the right time to look at Mars. Maybe now is the time to look a little closer to home.
Well, I work for a university, and so my focus tends to be on education. I really think that education, in a sociological perspective, is tied to everything. So where you have economical trends, you have global trends, you have educational trends, I think they all impact each other. My question to you is, not your position on education, because typically everyone agrees that education is a good thing.
Right.
But I have two parts. On the local level here in Jacksonville, and then on the state level, what